one question each, or you ask all and I ask all?
Nakul, I think we should try and make it a little lighter, and I think we got a real good dose from Mandeep and Raj about what's happening in our industry and what we are doing. Some of my colleagues said, why don't you make a little fun and tell us about each other, what we are, what we wanted to be, and what do we want. So, you want to go first?
Firstly, it's an honor to be sitting with Mr. Kachru. I always call him Mr. Kachru, but I gave him the first opportunity. But I'd just like to say that a couple of days back at the Radisson, he launched his book, one of the most brilliant books that you can see about his lifestyle, his career, what he did, his humility, his agility, etc. But I left very disappointed. I've never been so disappointed in my life, Mr. Kachru. Till he was on stage, and it was mentioned in the book that he was general manager of the Ashoka at 28 of a 560-room hotel. I had crowned myself as the youngest GM at 30 of a 140-room hotel. So he dethroned me literally in a matter of 5 minutes. And a title which I had held for myself for about 25, 30 years went up in smoke. But ladies and gentlemen, what I was very glad about was that the title was with a man who deserved it even more than I did. And that's Mr. K.B. Kachru.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Over to you, sir.
Thanks for the heavy-duty introduction. And I think we both have literally grown together. The difference is I dye my hair and you don't. Yes, it was great to be a general manager of a hotel. In fact, I started my first posting as general manager at the age of 23 at Aurangabad Hotel, and one of your senior colleagues...
you made my title even more distinct
now. One of your senior colleagues who was with ITC, was heading your hotel operation, Habib Rahman. In fact, he taught me to drink. He
taught a lot of us.
I had my first drink when I was 23, and after having worked and trained in Germany, I still had my first drink with Major Rahman in Aurangabad, which was rum and coke. I mean, that's what I started from. It has been an incredible journey, and I'm happy. You don't really plan everything. Life happens. And I got this opportunity, and I think I did what I could. Nakul, you have had a wonderful journey, and I think it's a lesson for generations to come. A person who actually started as a management trainee, and in the same company, he not only headed the hotels division, but also became director on the board of the entire ITC. I would like to know, did you do something differently? And how did you achieve this?
Thanks, Mr. Kachru. No, I don't...
Call me KB.
I can never do that. So, I think that one of the things that, if I look back at my own career, etc., and I think somewhere in life I had read that anyone who has achieved success has been unreasonable. You have to be unreasonable to a lot of questions, to a world that does not exist as yet. You've got to see a world that does not exist. And as we had discussed, I was just trying to put down a few points. If I was to say what were the big five, or what were the big five that were sort of my success points and can be the force, my hindsight can become somebody's foresight, was first, I think, Mr. Deveshwar told me at a very early age, when I was still a night manager, that set aside 1 hour every day for reading. And believe me, life never stops teaching, so never stop learning. And it was Isaac Newton who said that reading or learning is the eighth wonder of the world because it compounds, right? And there is nothing better than compounding, because compounding is really the eighth wonder of the world. And if you really look back and see all that you've read, you don't take everything literally, but somewhere or the other, everything connects together. Number two, I think I was told, one of the things that I became a general manager, not as young as him, but I'd only been from the front office stream and I'd become a general manager. Little did I know about food and beverage. There were words, there were questions everywhere that maybe he's the chairman's favorite or that's why he's become, etc. I had to prove myself. And therefore, I began to question fearlessly. I questioned everything. Nothing was given. Why should this be there? Why should the fruit be in this form? Why should chefing dishes be put in this form, etc., etc.? As they say, question fearlessly, and you will find answers that you never asked for before. And that really helped me. And I think in this industry, we were very rigid about certain things. We would not question it and we could not alter it. But when you began to change it, so I think the second tenet that I read beyond is question fearlessly. Third, I've always said it is excellence. One of my favorite books has been is the Good to Great. And why did I like the book? Because the first sentence itself caught me and it says, good is the enemy of great. And very often when you are good, right, you don't become great, etc. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is only those 5 little words extra. Otherwise you remain ordinary. Early in life, I learned, we created the motto, what we did for ITC hotels, a wow at every moment of truth. The team began to ask at every important event, what is the wow? In this document that you're presenting me, what is the wow? In this banquet you're doing for Mandeep Lamba or Rajiv Kaul, what is the wow? Everywhere we began. So it was all about excellence. And excellence is really a culmination of 1,000 details executed perfectly. It's not anything that is so large or so big, etc.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry to interrupt. Some of your team members who worked with us, I was a little intrigued, wanted to know a little bit more about you. I said, what is there in Nakul when he actually briefs his EC? And what does he expect? What does he ask? They said one thing he consistently told all of us, you have to be odd. Do odd things if you want to be number one.
Absolutely. And exactly the point that I was making, that to be number one, you have to be odd. You have to stand out of the crowd. If you do what everybody else did, you won't be there. You're absolutely right. Lastly, the last 2 points before I come back to you. One is planning. I think always look ahead, plan yourself. Rightly said by somebody, I dream my painting, then I paint my dream. Lastly, and often have I seen leaders, I've worked with bosses, I've worked with general managers, I've worked with directors, I've worked with 2 chairmen of ITC or 3 chairmen with ITC. And when I often look back and see what was the success between A, B, C, D, or what was the different styles of management. And something that stood out to me, and then when I researched further and read other books, was all about focus. Those who are able to focus and not get distracted on the subject that is there will always succeed. Those who are able to identify the focus areas, the A in the ABC, will always succeed. So if you're able to identify your focus, and if you're able to focus, right, that is one reason you've got to train yourself that how to distract, not get distracted, and how to starve your distraction and feed your focus. Mr. Kachru, enough about me. A question about you. As a hotelier by choice, your initial journey, dreams, walking down memory lane, lots of lovely stories we heard that day. Could you tell us some of them?
I'm a hotelier by accident. I actually accept that I come from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, which has a pull factor for tourism, a little more than some of the neighboring areas. I, like any middle class family, your parents expect you to be a doctor or an engineer or go to civil services. I joined, I did my pre-medical, and somehow I thought I'm not actually going to make it, because the first dissection I did was of a frog and then an earthworm, and I said, that's not me. I just can't do it. So I didn't know what to do, as you said, was it by choice? No, it was certainly not by choice. I came to Delhi to stay with my sister, and I've written in my book, I just saw a hoarding, hotel management. So I thought, this may be interesting and thoda kam padna padega. So I thought it would be that easy, that, you don't have to work so hard. I applied for it. As the luck would have it, I managed to get in, and I found everything what I wanted there, including my wife. So I was happy, and early years were difficult. I heard yesterday and this morning, we need to be very strategic, plan. As far as my career is concerned, I would say it's important to plan. I only started planning once I joined the line I am in now, very passionate about it. But, life itself plans what you are. I didn't expect so many things to happen to me. To be a general manager of the first hotel, it happened by accident again. Nobody wanted to go there. So I was sent. I came to get engaged in Delhi. My training manager told me, since you are in Delhi, there's a scholarship interview happening tomorrow morning at German embassy. It was serious scholarship. Those days, Government of India used to offer, and every company used to nominate. So I applied for it. I got it. I went to Germany, came back, started working for ITDC. For some reason, I was asked when I was doing well. I thought I was doing well. Within a couple of weeks, Nakul, I was asked to go to Calcutta, move to Calcutta to take over a hotel, which was, if I may use the word, infested with localized union problems and, what you had those days. Don't want to sound that old, but yes. So went there. Luckily, the hotel turned around and did well. I had a boss who, like Mr. Deveshwar, got fond of you. Mr. S.K. Mishra, who was those days tourism secretary.
Chappy Mishra.
Yeah, he started liking me, and he offered me a position to open a new hotel here. And it again happened. One day our Prime Minister came to Ashok Hotel midnight on a round.
That was Prime Minister Indira Gandhi.
Yeah, Mrs. Gandhi. So she came, she visited the hotel, and she was very particular. She was a great host. So she came and she found something in the lift and called
a cigarette butt in the lift.
A cigarette butt in the lift.
And she sacked the GM.
And
am I right?
I would like to use that word, it can happen to any one of us at any time. And that hotel is built over 26 acres of land. So you can imagine anything can happen anywhere at any time. But she said, we can't accept a situation like this. At midnight, she called my then boss, Rajan Jaitley, and told him that, we must make changes. At 12 in the night, I got a call to take over Ashok Hotel, 586 rooms, 29-year-old. I was very nervous. And today I can say this probably not at that time. And there were many seniors, actually, there were some people who had interviewed me to get into ITDC, were working in that hotel. So I said, how could I manage? And now when I reflect back, I think I did no differently what MS Dhoni did when he became captain of the Indian team. He had likes of Sachin Tendulkar and Dravid. He had to carry them along. So I had no choice. I actually was part of them. They were part of me, and we together made it. And I think it was a great story for me and great learning for me.
I think we could add value to this session by each of us telling in my 45 years to tell you, what would I consider that one secret, my mic's not working.
Is it working?
Is it working? No.
So very often I've been asked this question, and I'll give you my answer, and I'm sure the answer, each one of us has had a different experience, that if one was to say that, how do you determine the success of a service organization, and what makes a service organization successful, what would your answer to that be? I'll answer first, and then I'll request Mr. KBK to give his answer, etc. I'll give you a little story of a real incident that happens with me, and I shared this with my team the other day. I was in a neighboring country. I was staying in a hotel. People knew that I was a hotelier, I was chairman of Faith, and so on and so forth. I'd been upgraded to a suite, so it's not that nobody knew me. Everybody knew me there, and we were about to open there. We were about to open a hotel there. So everywhere that I would go, people would give me their visiting cards. Sir, good evening, Mr. Anand, and here's my visiting card. I'm F&B manager, I'm so and so. It always happens to all of us when a new hotel is opening. Anyway, early next morning, habit of making my own tea, as most of us do. I love my Earl Grey. I have sugar-free, so I noticed that the Earl Grey was there. They'd obviously researched on the guest history card. They normally don't keep Earl Grey. And there was no sugar-free there, or no sweetener there. So I rang up housekeeping, which is the thing to do. I said, could I have a sweetener? So they said, sorry sir, there is no sweetener. I said, but last night I had coffee at the coffee shop. They had it. There's no, so housekeeping doesn't have it. So I rang up the coffee shop. The hostess picked up. She immediately recognized, oh, my number must have flashed. See, Mr. Anand, you've got your breakfast table ready. I said, no, I'm not calling for breakfast. What I would like is a sweetener, and I saw it there. She said, of course, Mr. Anand, it will be there in your room in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. 20 minutes, it still didn't come. I then rang back. The same hostess picked up. She says, but Mr. Anand, I'm surprised it hasn't come up. I told room service 20 minutes back. So I rang up room service. I said, I haven't got my sweetener, so-and-so must have called you up. This is, sir, we told housekeeping to do it. Right? Housekeeping has been told they should be coming up any moment. I rang back housekeeping. And housekeeping tells me, sir, but housekeeping doesn't have any sugar-free. So I did not get my sugar-free. Now, we can reflect back and see that 4 different people in this interaction failed. Who's responsible for this? I came back. I put this question to my general managers and said, who would you put responsible for this? This is culture. This was the culture of the organization that had said, right? Many years back, Tom Peters and Bob Waterman wrote a book in search of excellence, and to find what was the mantra of success in many organizations, right, in all the Fortune 500. They came to the conclusion that these organizations that are successful have a very strong culture. It may be different, but people know what to do, where to do, how to do. And in culture, everything communicates. How you walk, how you talk, what you clean, how you tend to a complaint, etc. Drucker rightly said that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? And if you really look at it, there is an input and there is an output, right? The whole purpose of life, or whole purpose of work is that the output must be multiplied from the input that comes. In engineering, you call it a machinery. X unit gives you 3. In the army, you call it a force multiplier. In chemistry, you call it a catalyst. In the service business, you call it culture. It's the culture that multiplies, right? The input to the output. Thank you, sir. So in my opinion, we are the caretakers, we are the custodians of culture. And culture is the most important thing in an organization that will make or break a service organization. Mr. Kachru, over to you.
I don't think I can argue on what you are saying. But, there is a difference between processes and culture as such. I think culture you don't build overnight. I think it's brick by brick. It is a combination of processes and trust, delivery. I think when they are combined, and there has to be accountability. The other day somebody asked me, what would you like to be remembered as, And I'm going to ask you this question also, but I personally feel, there are lots of people amongst us who are just focused on the bottom line. Yesterday, I was here, one of the speakers really gave a fantastic answer that it's just not the bottom line. We are pushing ourselves, getting things done at the cost of something which will damage us in future. We should be remembered as driven for accountability, as you said, whether the sugar sachet or, whatever is to be delivered. There must be accountability at all levels. But for leaders, I feel there are few things which should not be compromised. I was telling Dean Jen just a little while back, I said if God has helped us, somebody has opened doors for us, we as leaders must ensure that we open doors for others. We need to be humane. We need to be compassionate. We should value our teams. Individuals are not higher or better than institutions. Institutions will remain. People will come and go. Processes, what Nakul said, you cannot again argue, because if you don't have a process, you don't have accountability, nothing will fall. Everything will fall apart. So I agree totally with you. We need to have very clear processes to identify who is accountable for what, but at the same time, create that humane and compassionate positioning as leaders. I'm sure you have a little gyan to give us what you think is workable before we come to lighter moments of our lives.
No, I think I'll answer one question of yours you asked some time back, that what would I like to be remembered by, right? I'd like to be remembered by being a professional hotelier, and let me tell you why I say that. All throughout, I have believed that, okay, let me put this in another way. When you are at a social party, you meet somebody and you ask him, what do you do? If he's a doctor, he'll say, I'm a doctor. If he's an engineer, he'll say, I'm an engineer. If he's a chartered accountant, in all probability, he'll say he's a chartered accountant. You ask a hotelier, right? Very rarely would he say that he's a hotelier, right? I work for Leela, I work for ITC, I work for Taj, I work for maybe whatever it is, etc. But hoteliering is no smaller profession. We are hoteliers first, and we work for ITC, Taj, Oberoi, Leela second. So all along, and I spoke this at Dilip Puri's ISB also I mentioned, we must all remember, and one thing that I've always tried to promote is the cause in every industry forum, non-hoteliering also, that hoteliering is no less a profession than any other. And therefore, I would like to be remembered as a proud hotelier. And believe me, any time time anybody asks me, what are you? I may have been a director on the ITC board. I introduce myself as a hotelier first, ITC, etc. comes second. So promote the cause of hoteliering, give pride in the fact that hoteliering is one of the greatest professions which it is. That's what I would like to say.
Absolutely. Nakul, can you, again, on a lighter side, do you remember anything funny
Oh, yeah, yeah.
or incidents happened in your life which you would like to share with all of us here?
It was an eye-opener, and I can never forget. My first job was a night manager. It's a very notorious term today. After 2 versions of night manager have come, but believe me, we were no different. Right? Also, we didn't indulge in many of those things, but till the movie came up, I would always proudly say that I started my career as a night manager. I now say I started as a lobby manager. In any case, that time I was a night manager. And my predecessor, from whom I was 7 days into night manager, he told me that this is a very cushy life. You come at, this was in Chennai, we call it now Chinna Chola, the smaller Chola, 100-room hotel, you're the only person at night, etc. Come in at 10 o'clock, the last flight came in at 7, so there's not a single check-in to do. You sign a few folios, because lobby manager has to authorize all the folios. You sign a few folios, wait for the F&B guys to finish your colleagues, have dinner with them. They go off at 12, go and sleep in the locker room till 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, come down at 6, see a few checkouts and go home at 6, 6:30, have a cup of tea or something. That was the night manager's job that time. So it's very different from what you all believe we used to do in the magazine. But anyway, we were so accustomed to this routine that, and those of you who remember the old system, the greatest sort of priority that was given to a lobby manager was that he had the grand master key of the hotel. Right? Shift to shift, we would have the grand master key of the hotel, and that was the greatest trust that you could put on a lobby manager. Now, with what I had learned from my predecessor, I'm going to sleep for 3 hours. So I was going up for my 3-hour snooze to the locker room. I gave my grandmaster key to a senior, to one of the bellboys, and I went to sleep, etc. Till I was woken up by him later for some, anyway. One guest went up to his room, early days of the hotel, etc. This guy got locked in his toilet. The inside lever got free. Now, he kept, those days, the bathroom phones, if you remember, were only a one-way phone. Right? You could receive, you couldn't dial a phone, etc. So this guy sat on the WC and kept tapping. He finally got through to room service. Room service connected him to bell desk. Here's this young enthusiastic guy who had the grandmaster key, who didn't decide, he thought he didn't want to wake me up, rushed up, opened the room door, opened the bathroom door, and said, "Sir, I'll tell you how to use this door." Shut the door, both were locked inside, because the door was free from inside. For the next 2 hours, both of them were taking turns on the WC, tapping to see that where they could get through. Right? So that was one of the incidents that made me realize, and I woke up, that's the time I realized that, no, you can't give your master key, you can't do this, etc. I repositioned my job from a night manager to a night general manager. I said, I'm not the night manager, I'm a night general manager. I have to stay awake, I redesignated myself. Even then I began to go and look at the number of units of electricity that was used. Can I cut that down? Number of there were no tea kettles in room. Room service used to be a nightmare. 55 orders at 7:35. Each guy is waking. All of us who've been through that generation remember. I'd go, none of my business. But because I'd called myself a night general manager or a general manager, I would be in room service at 6 o'clock in the morning, making sure the trays were set and so on and so forth. But some of the incidents that, but you may like to repeat. Mr. Kachru, I think that you're out of time, but it would be the incident of you receiving a head of state twice is, I think, even a funnier incident than what I went through. So if you could repeat.
No,
that.
I think, professionally, they all need to know what a night manager or a growing leader has to go through, and I think very good example. And we are today because of our teams. People, we all think we made it. No, it's the team which actually does everything for you. You are just the face. Now, coming back on the memorable experiences, I would stay away from preaching and giving the jargons. We have so many of you here who probably know better. I just want to share 2 incidents. One is, I was lucky, first of all, to have 107 heads of states under one roof for one event.
This was Chogam.
Yeah. NAM and Chogam, about 107 head of states. Many incidents happened, and some are written in my book. I've written because there are quite a few, so I can't take Bhuvnesh's time here. And some personal experiences. I'll start with a very small snippet of a personal experience. I was an assistant manager wanting to get married, and at a very short notice, it was decided that we'll get married because both parents were not wanting us to get married. So we were just given 6-7 days, and I didn't have any attire to wear on the Shadi day. I went to my general manager. I said, sir, I have a problem. I need to go to Delhi. यहाँ कोई बनाएगा नहीं. So he says, no, I can't give you chutti, but I'll arrange for your attire. Next day he came. He says, I've organized it, but just try if it fits you. So he gave it to me. I was fortunate to have that attire. I asked him, I said, sir, ye aap kahan se laaye ho? He said, I bought it from the treasury. Maharaja Hari Singh got married in this. I wore that. It's in a museum today. So, you know, these are kind of personal things which have happened. I'm sure all of you have lots and lots of stories, because every general manager, every vice president goes through something or the other. The incident Nakul is referring to was the president of Cuba. Fidel Castro. I got a call from our previous vice president, who was then chief of protocol, Hamid Ansari. He said, Bhushan, he used to call me Bhushan. He says, Bhushan, he's coming, just ensure that he's received properly. So I received him, took him to his suite, and got juices and welcome drink and all that done. And when I came down to the lobby, there was a call that secretary from Minister of External Affairs wants to talk to you, because there were no phones or mobile phones those days. So I went there. So I have Mr. Natva Singh, who was Secretary External Affairs. So he told me, Mr. Fidel Castro is coming. Please receive him properly. I said, sir, I've just received him and he's in his room. He said, kya baat kar rahe ho? I said, I have just. He says, no, he has just left the embassy. He was with me, he's on his way, please receive him at the gate. So I had received a double. Made him sit there, and the real one came later. So we've gone through all these.
Mr. Kachru, I think that we are getting very dirty looks from a very pretty lady, right, who's telling us that the time was out. And I think on that happy note, we'll call it a day, but always a pleasure to share a podium with you.
Thank you, Nakul. Thank you so much.